What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about being hard stuck, why you're hard stuck, and how you can get unstuck. The majority of people in each rank are stuck in the bottom division, and most guides for ranked are just generic tips, but I want to get into more detail here. This video, I'm going to be breaking down the levels of hard stuck, the different reasons for being stuck, and how you can use that to improve as a player. First of all, I want to say that it is 100% okay to be hard stuck. Hard stuck players get a lot of slack, but it just means you got some room for improvement. And if you're on YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, or whatever, looking for ways to get better, you're already in the right direction. Being hard stuck is just temporary. If you're finishing splits up in the higher divisions of a rank, like Plat 1 or something, I wouldn't consider you a hard stuck. A Plat 1 is basically the same as a D4 player. You may just need to play a little more. So, for each rank, gold, plat, diamond, etc., I would say each player fits into one of four categories. You got your hard stucks, emphasis on the hard, they're barely winning any fight, any RP they get they instantly lose, and the only way they could climb is by getting carried by two people much better than them. Next, you got your solo hard stucks. These players are decent enough, they can hold their own. They can climb with a decent 3-stack, but without a constant team, they aren't really going anywhere. Then you got your solo climbers. These players are good enough to climb solo queuing their respective rank. They'll slowly move up as the split progresses. They might have a few bad days losing RP, but they're a net positive and they'll usually hit their goal. Lastly, you got the RP farmers. These are the people that win the majority of their games. They're bullying the lobby. They don't really belong in the lobby, and if their lobby is a pred lobby, they're probably a professional. Smurfs would usually fit into the farmer category. Most people stuck think that they just need a better team, but honestly, that's not usually the case, and that mindset is really only going to hold you back even more. So before we can really get into this, we need to talk about if your team is actually an issue. The most important thing for a team on Apex is to just be on the same page. Good comms and coordination lets you win fights even when the other team is better. Another important factor is your goals. If you want to eventually hit Masters, Diamond, or whatever, and you're spending time in the range every day, but your teammates don't have that same mindset, that's eventually going to hold you back. If you're all practicing and working together but still hard stuck, then it really just means it's a matter of time and keep at it. I'll talk about more specific places for improvement later in the video. If you're playing with teammates you know are good, but things just aren't working out for y'all, don't be afraid to look for other teammates. Sometimes teams just don't work out, and that's okay too. I've played on teams with other Masters players that didn't go well just because we had like slightly different playstyles. When you're in the middle of games, it's hard to pinpoint the exact issue, and damage or kills doesn't always tell the full story, so sometimes it really is just the team not fitting. If you played with a bunch of different teams and nothing is working, you just have to accept that you're the constant and you probably just have to get better. So let's talk about it. This is going to be a little oversimplified for the sake of the video, but your Apex skill level can be determined by the combination of two skill sets, your macro and your micro. Micro is going to be your aim, movement, micro positioning, basically how you handle yourself in individual fights. Macro is going to be how you land, your map rotations, the fights you take, essentially your game plan or general game IQ. The lines between the two aren't really clear cut, but they're different enough. Some things like dropping shield swaps after a fight to reset are a little bit of both, but you can hit Masters without doing every little trick in the book. So now that we have an idea of the criteria, how do we use this in the context of rank? First, we need to establish two things. One, what is our goal for ranked? And two, what is our skill level? Getting an accurate idea of our skill level and strengths and weaknesses here is crucial. Generally speaking, if you're very good at either, you should hit at least diamond, but if you're very good at micro and bad at macro, you'll most likely get there faster than someone who's very good at macro but bad at micro. This is important because when a lot of players become hard stuck, they think they can just strategize or game the system, but in reality, at the end of the day, Apex is a first-person shooter, and you need to win your fights. Especially with the kill points change they made this season, being able to win your fights is even more important. Hypothetically, you can get 100 plus RP in a game with no placement points. Now let's talk about your rank goals. If you're hard stuck, gold or below, you really just need to play the game more and work on that micro. Macro isn't super important because these games will play out more like pubs with points than an actual competitive game. The entry cost for those ranks is too low for anyone who doesn't need major improvements to be stuck there. You can usually break at least even just by surviving past the first round and getting like a kill. Use these lower ranks to become more familiar with the mechanics of the game, practice the basics, and if you have enough time, you should be able to hit plat. Plat is where things start to get complicated. Even though plat should technically be above average, plat 4 is actually the most populated rank. Because of that, you get a wide range of players in plat, which makes the lobbies a little harder to predict. If you're stuck here, this is where you need to go back to the first question. What is our goal for ranked? If plat was the goal, congrats, you can go back to pubs. Don't be that guy throwing games because you don't care about your RP anymore. If diamond or above is the goal, you need to go to the second question. What is my skill level? General rule of thumb for ranking is you should be winning over 50% of your team fights. If you aren't hitting that, you need to work on your micro. Playing for the end game with 0 KP and platinum can work, but it's far from the most efficient way. If you're winning over 50% of your team fights but are still stuck in plat 4, you need to work on your macro. That means you're dying because you can't get good placement. Usually this is because you're taking bad fights or you're rotating poorly. If you're in need of help with macro positioning, I'll link my guide for that in the video in the description. To be successful in ranked, even in diamond, you really only need to consistently win one fight and play for the end game. Now if you're plat 4 and you're losing a big majority of your fights, you focus too much on the macro too early, or you were riding in gold and below and your gun skill just isn't cutting it. You need to be in the range and playing pubs trying to get as much fight experience as possible. Be aggressive, don't focus too much on winning the pub matches, just focus on winning fights. When you get to that 50% fighting win rate, you can reevaluate yourself. For my platinum players with master player aspirations, to be honest, you need to be rolling platinum lobbies. Your micro should be strong enough that you don't really have to macro at all. Outside of the first couple days of the split, when Preds are still in platinum lobbies, they should basically be pubs. If you're barely scraping by in plat, diamond is going to be really rough for you. Now let's talk about diamond. Unlike plat, you won't be able to get by just off micro alone here unless you're like AC or Timmy level, in which case I don't know why you'd be watching this. Diamond is tricky because not only do you need to keep up that 50% fighting win rate against better players, you need to be winning games as well to offset the negative 48 entry cost. Your macro here is going to be more than just your rotations. Taking good fights is more important than ever now. Waiting strictly for third parties is not the play here. You will need to learn how to identify and to take isolated 3v3s, which I consider a macro skill. Actually winning the fight in this situation is your micro. If you learn how to identify these fights, avoid the third parties, and are still losing, you need to work on your micro. If you find yourself getting third party more than usual, you need to work on your macro, or it could also be a case of your micro because you're not finishing the fights quickly enough. Third parties are a huge part of Apex, but they are avoidable to an extent. Negative 48 RP is too steep to always play for in-game, so that early KP is crucial. If you have that gun skill but still can't climb, don't just hot drop and throw games. Always play to win, watch more videos, try new strategies. You don't want to build bad habits. With all that said, I'm going to leave y'all with a few major takeaways from the video. 1. Focus on gunfights early and do not rat below platinum rank. 2. Aim for winning 50% of your gunfights. If you aren't hitting that, back to the range. 3. Platinum and above ranked is the only real practice you will get for macro in Apex. Pubs is not going to help you that much. 4. Learn how to identify isolated fights. This is one of the most important things to consistently climbing. That's going to wrap up my video on being hardstuck in Apex and how to unstick yourself. Hopefully you learned something in this video will help you get back to gaining RP. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter and Co We Trust. Thanks again for watching. Peace.